Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Administrator Wheeler, as you know, I'm very proud that my state is home to EPA's Region 5 office, which features civil servants who are leaders in the fields of water quality, Superfund cleanup, and Great Lakes restoration. I am, however, concerned that EPA Regional Administrator Kathy Stepp and other political appointees are working to undermine that important work. An ATSDR report published last year indicated an elevated cancer risk in the community of Willowbrook, Illinois, as a result of being next to a facility that uses ethylene oxide, a known carcinogen. And at this point, I do want to thank you for how accessible you have been to me and to Senator Durbin on this issue, and numerous phone calls that you personally got on, meeting with us in person. So thank you for how accessible you've been. It's been a nice change from your predecessor. However, recently, my office received alarming information alleging that senior political appointees instructed EPA personnel not to inspect any facilities in Region 5 that emits ethylene oxide. And then yesterday evening, when we checked the EPA's own public enforcement tool, the ECHO tool, we found that there has been no ethylene oxide inspection across the country in at least the last 6 months. This disclosure is incredibly disappointing to me. The EPA Office of Inspector General should immediately begin an independent investigation into this allegation that political appointees within the EPA are issuing orders to not conduct ethylene oxide inspections. Will you commit now to joining me in requesting that the EPA OIG initiate an investigation into this public health matter?
Well, first, Senator, I'd like to talk to my staff and find out what is going on there. This is news to me, so I'd like to know whether or not it's accurate before I go further with that.
I think we ran the check just yesterday evening after you and I had spoken. Will you at least commit to issuing a document retention order to all personnel in Region 5 and promise to me that EPA will monitor all facilities in my state that emit this carcinogen?
I know that we are monitoring a number of facilities that release ethylene oxide, not just in your region, but across the country. We're looking at all of them. The Willowbrook facility that you mentioned, we've had a couple of public meetings there where we've discussed the monitoring data with the residents of the community, and we're looking at the emissions at other facilities around the country, and I know that is taking place.
What about issuing a document retention order to all personnel, as I will be requesting an IG inspection?
If there's an issue there, certainly we would want those documents retained, but not just for this, but for anything. We maintain all of our documents.
Thank you. Right before the holidays and the government shutdown, you announced the release of the administration's long-delayed lead action plan.
Yes.
I was disappointed to see that this plan walks back earlier goals on eliminating lead exposure. In fact, the new plan has the objective to reduce children's exposure as opposed to eliminate their exposure in homes and child-occupied facilities with lead-based hazards. Will you commit EPA to the goal of eliminating, not just reducing, but eliminating lead exposure in children?
It is certainly our goal to eliminate lead exposure in children, and we do want to do that. We're moving forward with a number of regulatory programs to accomplish that. The lead dust rule that I mentioned earlier, our lead and copper rule. This would be the first time in over 20 years. And we're taking, we take very seriously lead contamination at Superfund sites around the country.
Thank you. Will you immediately reinstate Dr. Ruth Etzel, who led the Office of Children's Health Protection and was abruptly put on leave?
I'm sorry, what were you asking about, Dr. Etzel?
Will you reinstate her?
She is on investigative leave because of allegations by her employees, and I can't go into more details in a public setting because of personnel issues, but I'd be happy to, through the oversight function of the committee, to brief you. I think we have to go through the chairman to do that. Okay. I want to make sure that my general counsel is involved to go into more detail about the circumstances around that.
Thank you. And as some of my other colleagues across the aisle have mentioned, the state of renewable fuels in this industry in this country is at a turning point. And over the last 6 months, we've seen more ethanol plants sold, idled, or closed than ever before. Meanwhile, EPA is granting the world's largest refining companies these so-called hardship waivers. And my colleague, Senator Ernst, brought this up, the issue of these hardship waivers. These companies are earning record profits, billions with a B. The CEOs of these companies have even pointed to the fact that they were able to obtain these hardship waivers on their earnings calls as contributing to their profitability. You've promised to finalize a waiver for E15 blends by May 31st. Will you also promise that you will end this abuse of the hardship waivers by companies like Exxon or Chevron?
Senator, the hardship waiver is based on the refinery itself, not the refiner. So it's based on the actual refinery, and it doesn't matter who the parent company is. There could be a hardship at a refinery, and what we want to make sure happens is that just because you're a large company, if a refinery is not economical, we don't want those shut down because of this program. Oftentimes, these small refineries are located in the Rocky Mountains and other areas where they're the only supplier of gasoline in their region. So we have to base it according to both the statute and the regulations on the size of the refinery, not the refiner.
The issue we have here, though, is that...
The senator's time's expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
Thank you.
apologize.